Recently, I've been having trouble finishing my game jam projects. In fact, it's been 6 months since the last time I finished one. So, how can I make finishing a game jam as easy as possible? Well, how about doing one in just 3 hours? This is the Trijam, a weekly game jam hosted by Rock Knight Studios that has been running for years at this point. The rules are simple. Make a game in 3 hours during the 4-day submission period. It should also be noted that things like planning, compiling your game, and making your itch.io page do not count towards the 3 hours. On Friday morning, the game jam had officially begun. So when I woke up, I immediately opened itch.io to check the theme. It was Darkness Within. The first idea that came to my mind was a platformer with a dark story. But all of my previous game jams have also been platformers, so I wanted to try something different. I eventually settled on a game where you talk to a character and try to help them get rid of the darkness within them, kinda like a therapy session of some sort. For some reason, I also thought it would be cool to make the character an AI that just found out that he isn't real. And I also decided his name is gonna be Mort. Not sure why. And I asked for how the game would work mechanically. You would talk to Mort through a huge dialogue system, and the game would end if you either got 3 strikes by irritating him, or got to the end of the dialogue tree. When it comes to my plan for finishing the game within 3 hours, I figured I would get everything that was absolutely necessary done first, and then hopefully have enough time at the end to add polish, extra art, a title screen, and sound effects. And with that, I went to bed and was ready to work on it the next day. After getting some breakfast and waking up a bit, I opened my computer and set a timer on my phone for 3 hours. I pulled out my pixel art software and made a base model for both Mort and the X shape for the strike bar. They didn't look great, but the clock was ticking and I didn't want to spend forever working on them. I also took a dialogue box shape and edited it to fit the theme of the game. With the base art done, I copied over a dialogue script I used for another project. The script basically allows me to play a dialogue tree made in Yarn and select different response options using the arrow keys. And with the script completed, it was time to work on the bulk of the game, the dialogue itself. I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted it to go, so I kinda just winged it. And after getting a chunk of progress done on that, I took a break to get the strike mechanic functioning. How it works is whenever I want the program to add a strike to the strike bar, I put a tag at the beginning of the node. This thankfully worked very well and allowed me to add more strikes very easily. At this point, I had about 2 hours left and progress was actually going fairly smoothly. So, I spent around another hour finishing up the dialogue tree. I also decided to make the game start with a strike so it would be easier to prevent the player from getting soft-locked. Now, all I had to do was make the game end and the game's mechanics would be finished. Unfortunately, this was much more difficult than I had anticipated. For some reason, my regular technique of using tags wasn't working. I spent a fair chunk of time trying to figure out a solution, and thankfully, I eventually found one. All I needed to do was put a line with a random word after the tag, and it suddenly worked. I'm not sure why exactly, but I'm not complaining. With the base mechanics done, I essentially had a full game, but I still had 45 minutes to add some polish. First, I went to freesound.org and found a cool soundtrack made by an artist named Steffi Queen. I also found a cool sound effects from the gdevelop library to play whenever a new line of dialogue appears. Now that the sound design was done, I decided to make another sprite for when Mort was talking and add a background tile that could be repeated. I then made a simple title screen where you could press start to go to the main scene. By this point, I had around 5 minutes left. And before my time was up, I wanted to add the small detail of Mort's eyes turning red whenever you got a strike. I did this by making the base Mort model have white eyes, and then simply tinting the sprite to the correct color depending on the time. And finally, I was finished. So, I compiled the game, made an itch page, and uploaded it. And gosh, did it feel amazing to finally finish a game again. It has been months since my last finished game, and there have been many failed attempts since. and I think the game is somewhat fun as well. There of course isn't much depth to it, but it's fun to mess around with for a few minutes and see some of the different endings and possibilities. Thanks for watching to the end. Most people don't make it this far, so it really means a lot. If you found this devlog interesting, then definitely consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like it. If you become uninterested, you can always unsubscribe. And with that, my name is Heuzy, and I will see you next time.